Hello, my name is Timo Becker and I'm software engineer at Innosoft. Today I'm going to talk a bit about social networks, social media data. We live in social networks, data mining, traces we unwittingly leave, particularly on Twitter. Twitter, just in case you haven't used it before, is a microblogging web service where you can share messages called tweets of 140 characters maximum and also share media like pictures or video. And one interesting feature about Twitter is that they allow to geotag your tweets. That means you can share the location where you actually provide that information. For example, if you sit at a cafe and you're enjoying your coffee and want to share that with your friends, you then can geotag that place or that information and people can see where you actually wrote this information. Now it also offers access to their data on the back end via an application programmer's interface for people like me who develop software. And with this feature, we can actually build applications on top and do things that the official website, the official interface of Twitter doesn't allow. Now, if you put that together with another interesting technology like Google Maps, you can have a whole different view on things you shared on Twitter. And that's what I did. I built a little technology demo, I call it TweetMap. And it's basically merging Twitter and Google Maps together. It's a geographic visualization of tweets. And with this way, I'm doing this by picking up the tweets via API and showing them on a map. I break certain limitations that the official website has. For example, you cannot do a geographic search on the official website, while you can do that on TweetMap. Let's have a look at TweetMap, how it looks. All right, this is what TweetMap looks like. It's basically a map from Google Maps, a map of Germany. At this technology demo level, I only gather tweets that originate in Germany, and I only gather tweets that are geotagged, actually, which would not make sense if I would display tweets without geotagged information somewhere on the map. So what you can do here is you can do a wildcard search by typing in an asterisk, or you could search for a particular username or a particular search term. As you can see, there is a high concentration over here in Berlin. There's also a high concentration of tweets down there at Heidelberg, Mannheim. And some tweets are very off. That's just, the Twitter API sometimes emits tweets that are far off from the filters you specify. That just happens. So, what can we do with this? If we look for a particular area, there's a little cafe in Frankfurt. It's in the northern Frankfurt somewhere, Klauburg Cafe. We could apply a regional filter around this area and do a wildcard search, and then we can see that there are actually a lot of users or a lot of tweets originating from that area. I'm going to narrow it down a bit to get closer to the cafe, and then we can look who is actually tweeting there. And we see there are two people. One is very active, so we're going to look at this person. Who is this? Let me see. Okay. Well, that's her. She's tweeting from this cafe, and well, that would be interesting to see where else she is tweeting from. And therefore, I just click on her name. So now I'm doing a user lookup search, and if I zoom out a bit to see more of Frankfurt, and I remove the regional filter, I see actually where she has been using Twitter, tweeting while she was on the move. We see there's a series of tweets down here, 1623, and the next one is 1555. So she's actually moving from Frankfurt away, most likely, yeah, I don't know, train maybe, no, car. But what's more interesting is there's actually, if we look at the data, there are several high concentration of tweets. One is at the cafe where we were before. There's another one down here, Sam's Sport Bar. But what we have here is, well, if we look at this hotspot, I'm going to apply a regional filter around it so we only look at tweets from this area, and then look at the tweets They're originating all at very, well, early in the morning or in the evenings, very few only over the day. And if they are over the day, it's very likely that the weekend. Pretty sure we found some place where this person is maybe even living. Now we can even have a look at the satellite picture, or thanks to Street View, we can even see how this looks. And it's very likely that we just found out where this person lives. And that's something that this person did not share wittingly. She just shared it by using Twitter at this place. And, well, this is just amazing to see. Another example, let's zoom out to Twitter, to TweetMap again. There's one user I always use for demos because it's very active on Twitter, Aviation Steve. So now I do the user search. I see this user has been moving from Erlangen to Frankfurt. The color of the dots on the map are actually an indicator how old these tweets are. Red dots are 1 day, orange dots are 2 days, and yellow dots are 3 days. And the same thing works here. If we have a closer look at where these tweets originate, we find another hotspot down here. So what we see here is that we can even go back in time by clicking these buttons up here, and if we have a look at what happens then is we can see that the news dots are now in Erlangen. If we go back a few days more, the latest dots, now there's a high concentration in Frankfurt, so it has been in Frankfurt for a couple of days actually. If you go back further, we'll see, okay, he moved from Erlangen to Frankfurt, and the days before, back and forth. So we can actually track movement very accurately, and that's a dangerous information we leave on Twitter, because someone can find out if we are 3 days not at home, and well, I wouldn't want that criminals know when I'm not at home for 3 days, for example. Well, that's just a few examples of information these people share without even knowing, probably. Just by changing the perspective on the data they provide on Twitter, we found out new information. So what's the take-home message of that? One aspect is that once an information is leaked, or once an information is sent to a social network, it's basically out of our control what happens with the information, because the way these interfaces, these application interfaces work, is many people use it that way, like I did here. They just hook into a stream and they gather the information and store it in a database for further processing. TweetMap, for example, stores that in a database and shows it on the map. Now, when you delete your tweet from Twitter, it still stays in my database or in all application databases, and we have no idea who is gaining this information or who is gathering this information and storing it in their databases. So we need to be very aware that once we click the share button, it's out of our control what happens to the information. Another message about all this is that information, the value of an information heavily varies with the perspective on the information. So while there's no danger in providing geographic information when you only have a chronologically interface which shows the news, tweets on top and the oldest on bottom, and you may be able to look at details and see where this happened, it's a whole different story when you are able to do a regional search and put independent information into a different context. Well, and finally, the sum of two independently harmless information can yield a complete new information. For example, if you sit on your coffee table at home, nobody knows you are at home, you're just sharing that you're drinking coffee at 8 in the morning, maybe you're enjoying toast, and the next day you're doing the same thing. You do actually provide a pattern with a new information. So two independently informations will generate a new information. And that's what I wanted to show about this Twitter and TweetMap. It's available for free on the internet. You can try it out, tweetmap.innosoft.de. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for your time.